how do you want to start this, or do we want to just jump in, or do you need 6 minutes to get stuff set up because we have 6 minutes of audio here? We played with something. Do you remember that conversation?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't at all.
On Monday, Demasi and I were playing
hold
around.
on. So just a little background for the listeners before you get into the explanation, because this is what happens with me and Michael is we'll have a conversation on the phone, and then one of us will say, "Oh, we should talk about that on the show." And as is about to be demonstrated, I don't remember what we talked about. I do remember we had a conversation. I remember Michael recording a clip of it. But I have no idea what we talked about.
Without even telling you, I just found the record button. I'm like, wait, hold on 1 second. Hit the record button, and then that's when we jump in. And so I guess since we talked about it, we'll play that in right now. I'll finish eating these French fries and let you guys listen to this, and we'll go from there. It's 6.5 minutes long, and hopefully people get value out of it.
This call will be recorded, beep.
Yep, and then it tells you that we're recording. So anyways, Incredible PBX. I'll stop recording in a couple of minutes, but we can use this.
No, this might actually be a good clip, though.
Yeah.
All right, so what I was thinking about was the API, because VoIP MS has an API. And what first occurred to me was, hey, maybe there's a way to use GPT with the VoIP MS API to provide that endpoint solution for you. And kind of the process I was thinking about is you put the newsletter up on the site. I'm assuming that's the thing that's happening. GPT could go look at the latest newsletter and then provide voicing for that over VoIP MS. But I think Incredible PBX is probably going to be better suited for trying to wire something like that up.
So, and I am not a programmer, but the BITS class has taught me to think about things in a different way, in a more organized way than what I would have thought about them in the past. My mind went to Incredible PBX is, I believe, Ubuntu 24 underlying, that's the operating system it's on, which means you can run Python. So why couldn't you build a Python script that would pull an RSS feed, get the content out of the feed that it needs, and then send that content to OpenAI or 11 Labs, get an empty or a WAV file that replaces the WAV file that sits on the server for that specific audio. And what I want to do, I know the overall view of getting there, but I don't know the intricate ways of parsing an RSS feed because I haven't sat down and learned that. But I know the path that I'd have to take if I had time. Time's a big thing, and not a huge desire, but more motivation to go learn how to do that. So I think you're going somewhere there, and that might be why I wanted to build Incredible PBX or play with it a little bit.
And see, I didn't know if it was one of those type of appliance. If Incredible PBX, what they refer to oftentimes like appliance software. So once you install it, like you can't really go in there and poke it, crap or not. Because I think I only set up one years ago and played with it, and then took it down because I think at the time I was having problems solving for I'm not on my home network. How do I use this phone?
Gotcha.
Deal.
Yep.
And the port knock thing that I was using at the time was very kludgy. Like I had to open an app and do a thing, and then I could go connect with Groundwire. Speaking of which, any recommendations for mobile apps, iOS or Android, that would be good for VoIP calls other than Groundwire? Like Groundwire is my default solution, and it works, and I like it.
There was one on Windows. There's Microsip. On Mac, there's Telephone. On iOS, I typically would just type in SIP or IAX and see what apps came up, and I would find one that I'm like, oh, I remember using that. I got ads here and there, and I download it and install it and use that. But I don't remember the names of any specific ones. Bria is one. I think that's Groundwire, though.
No, that's not Groundwire.
Okay.
That's the other company. But I think they're going to a subscription model.
They have. Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't immediately say that one. But that's because
that used to be my fallback for people that didn't want to, like, either didn't want to or didn't really need to pay for Groundwire. Groundwire does have that other one that's a little cheaper, but honestly, I think the price difference is so small it makes more sense to buy Groundwire. You got more flexibility there. Maybe like a $2 difference. But I'll take a look at that. That's a good suggestion. I'll just search the app stores, terrible search for SIP or IAX.
Did you just hear like a little sound on your end?
Yeah, I thought it was like a...
Nope. So it's Apple reminding you, hey, just remember this call is being recorded.
I wonder if that's going to actually come out in audio.
We will see. And thanks for listening to an improv part of TW84. Maybe we'll drop this to subscribers or tip our subscribers. There you go.
Like, hey, this is a phone call recording. Here's how that works.
And it's going to drop it into notes. So that'll pop up on the Mac. That is so weird to me that your call recordings go.
Your call recordings go to notes. Does it give you a transcription?
Yes. Yep.
That could be handy. Does it drop it into a specific? Like, is there like a?
I think you can either tag the notes or it goes into a folder. I'm not sure, but I don't use notes that much, so I will now to get the file out of it.
But I think I've been thinking about. Oh, you should listen to. I meant to mention this on the show because I think it's a good episode. But you should listen to State of the Apps 2025 on Cortex.
Okay. State of the Apps.
Yeah, it's the most recent Cortex episode.
Okay.
You know, they're kind of what apps are we using now.
Okay.
Some interesting concepts in there. Mike's using like 7 to-do managers. But it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like he uses to-do just for his stuff. He uses reminders for shared family stuff. He uses do for things that he needs to remember, like take out the trash or take medication. You know, just those little small reminders. So he has it spread out, and each app has its own purpose of why it's being used. So thinking about that, I've been using reminders for shared stuff in the household, so that makes sense. They're both using notes, which is interesting. I don't use notes at all.
Yeah. Maybe we should explore it again. I will tell you my thoughts on notes after I try to get audio out of it.
All right.
And I just cut him off. What do you think of the quality? Listening back on it, first of all, tip to our subscribers, I am so sorry. I did not publish that, so my bad. I forgot that we were doing this until I was thinking about what are we talking about tonight. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I have this note. The process of getting it out was very complicated on the Mac, but on iOS, if you tap on the audio, there's a button that brings up a menu that allows you to save the audio to files, which then naturally just showed up as an M4A file in iCloud. And then I grabbed it and I brought it into Farrago and just realized that I haven't licensed Farrago, so I need to quit that app and make sure that I add my license to it. But that's how I played it in and then sent that. No, I was going to send it to a loopback virtual device, but unfortunately, if I do that, then I don't hear it. So what I ended up doing is going into loopback and adding Farrago as a source, and then unchecking the box that says mute when capturing, so I could hear what Demasi was hearing. And we're recording on Zoom, so yeah, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. The quality was decent for a phone call because it was a phone call. I think I may have even been on earbuds.
You were. Yep. I'm curious. We should play with this, and maybe sometime this week we'll jump on and do it. But I want to say Apple records locally. Or does a very good job at picking up your audio. Because I think if you weren't on AirPods, you would have had or whatever earbuds you were on, your quality would have been similar to mine. The gotcha that I have with mine that I didn't realize I was listening to this is they do some major de-essing on me because I'm a S person. And did you hear all the S's kind of were very tempered?
Yeah. They're doing some compression of some sort. But I wonder, is it Apple doing that and processing of the recording, or is it it's got to be Apple, because talking to you, you're not clipped off like that, so not the phone.
I was going to ask you, I was going to say, well, are you hearing me then? But it's probably Apple when they do the actual recording. Which is interesting because the recording's available instantly. Like when I hung up with you, there was a notification at the top of my phone that told me that the recording was available. I tapped on that recording. The transcript was there. To answer your question, there is a section called calls in notes now. So it has its own little folder that you can go into and access all of your calls there. And then I already told you how I got it off of the phone and into Farrago.
It does play the tone.
Yes.
In the recording.
Yes, it does.
So, maybe I should think about pulling that out. But I'm guessing they're not anticipating people using trying to record a podcast. I wonder if we're going to see a rise in people just recording podcasts on the phone now.
And we'll know when they do it now. Even if you use a big boy microphone, as Allison calls it. Well, she calls it a big girl microphone. But even if you use like a really high quality USB-C, 4 minutes into the audio, if you hear that tone, then you're like, yep, they use call recording.
But noise removal could be a
Yes. I wonder if Alphonics is going to take that out. I don't think it will, because I think it's going to interpret it as part of the audio. Because it was clear, it wasn't hidden.
No,
it also wasn't overwhelmingly loud either.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. It was just a nice little subtle tone. And when I heard it on the call, I actually thought you had like your watch or something was setting off an alarm or something like that is what I thought I heard.
Yeah, and it's not the beep that you often get in recorded calls or beep beep, those random tones.
Those things, yeah, which are super annoying and tend to interrupt the conversation for a second. You're like, wait, what?
What was that? So that was our experiment.
I think I mentioned this before, but you said we're using Zoom. I think I mentioned this feature in Zoom on the show before, but I'm actually making use of it now. So in your audio settings, at least on the version that I'm on, and you know what, I should be professional. Tell you which version I'm using, just in case you're not up to date. 5.17.11 is what I'm on macOS. And in the audio settings, when you select your input device, there is an option there. And if you don't immediately see this, you may have to tweak some of the other audio settings, but my settings are, as of right now, configured so that I'm using original sound.
What version were you on? Huh? What version were you on?
It says 5.17.11.
Huh, I'm on 6.2.6.
Huh, interesting.
So, yeah. Maybe you should update your Zoom and see if that feature is still there. Don't do it now, though.
I'll let you go to check for updates too.
But anyways, go into your audio device.
Okay, what version are you on?
6.2 point something. 2.6.
Oh, it's showing me version 6.1 point something as the update.
Maybe I'm on like some sort of special Zoom build. I don't even know anymore what I'm doing with the software that I have. There's some software that I have that I'm like, can I talk about that yet? And then I look at the version and I was like, yeah, it's version 6.2.6.
I was worried it might do that. One, it didn't make me update before I got on the call. So,
oh, it's waiting. But you also don't use Zoom that much, do you?
No, I don't. I fully expected when I opened it that it was going to be like, you need to update Zoom.
Hopefully, / what it typically will do is once you leave a Zoom meeting, it should update, but we'll see. Follow Demasi on Mastodon. He might think about posting something. Demasi, DAMASHE at unmute.community.
Yeah.
Or send him an email and ask feedback at technicallyworking.show.
So he did it.
Yep.
But in your Zoom settings, and again, I have my settings configured to use original sound.
Are you using original sound right now? Like, is it on?
And I'm in audio settings automation. So I unchecked the box that says, which I always uncheck this box automatically, adjust microphone volume. Always uncheck that. So that is unchecked. And then there's a checkbox that says use specific inputs. Use specific audio input channels. You want to check that if your device supports multiple channels. And what I'm using right now is the Zoom 8.6. So I selected that option, and then you navigate over a bit and you get to audio input channels, and it will tell you how many channels are currently selected as a button. You activate that button, and then you can go into a table and check and uncheck the channels that you want Zoom to pull from. So I only have, for me, checked is one channel, and that is channel 3, because my microphone is plugged into the top left XLR port, which is channel 3 on the 8.6.
That's how you're hearing my audio. Now let me answer Mike's question about, let me see. I should be using original.
Did you check the box when you got into the meeting? Because remember with Zoom,
you do have to turn it on. Hold on.
Yeah, you have to turn it on.
Now it's on. Do I sound any different?
Yes, you sound less muffled.
Okay. Well, that's good. Also, I should probably move my microphone. Because I was kind of talking over the top of it instead of into it.
Now, it'll be interesting. So for listeners' transparency, because we're about transparency-ish on this show, what we do is we are, this time, recording in Zoom. I'm recording locally, have it set to record each participant on their own track. Mainly because I'm trying to think about what do I want to pay for in 2025? Like, where do I want to spend my money / where am I getting the most value? And Demasi paid for clean feed forever. And then we started to have some issues with clean feed. It was not very clean, and we needed that feed to be clean. So we jumped over to Riverside, and I started paying for Riverside. And I don't have a problem with paying for a tool, but the problem that I have with Riverside is that it is challenging sometimes, especially on the Mac, to get access to your audio. And it could be that I just don't have a regular system in place to go check for that audio. But every time I go in there, it seems like one thing is moved just a little bit, where you got to click a different button to get access to the audio, and it's frustrating. So I said, let's just try Zoom, see how the audio comes out. So we're recording on Zoom. So I'm going to stop the recording when we're done. That's going to drop it into the Zoom folder in my documents folder in iCloud. And I will then go grab both of those audios, both of those audio files, drop them into Reaper on their own tracks, edit the content. For the most part, we don't edit that much anymore. Every once in a while, if like I have some easy to edit out background noise, or Demasi clears his throw, or something comes up and we get interrupted, then we'll do some edits. But for the most part, what you guys hear is what we record. We have edited a lot less than what we did in the past. So we'll keep that there. And then I render each track I select each of the tracks, and then I render the project. I call it $project space $ title. And then what I do, $project space hyphen, I think it is $title or $track. I actually think it's $project.
Probably $track.
It is. I was just looking. So it's $project hyphen $track. And then I go to the render dialog and I shift tab. I make sure that it's set to render the entire project. And then I tell it to render each track via master. Render each selected track via master. And then what that does is it'll drop 2 FLAC files, because I set it to FLAC as my default, in the project directory. And then I grab those 2 FLAC files. I move them to my downloads, so I don't have to struggle with finding them in Alphonic. So they temporarily live in my downloads. I go to Alphonic. I create a new multi-track project. I grab the TW template out of Alphonic, so there's a combo box that you can pick, and then I choose TW, and then the first one is Demasi's audio, and I upload that, and then the second one is my audio, and I upload that individually. I'll name the project, the episode number that we're on, because at this point, I typically don't have a name for the episode. Sometimes I do, but most of the time, it's just TW84, for example. And then I'll tab through, and then the other selection I choose is to use Alphonic's Whisper transcript. And then on there's a checkbox that says generate show notes. I can now paste in a sample of show notes that I want our show notes to kind of look like. So I could go grab someone else's notes if I'm like, hey, I really like the way these look. And then it'll take our transcript and generate notes based around those a lot of the time. It's AI, so it's not perfect. And then there's a base file name that I put in the episode number, so TW84, for example, and then I tab over to the start, and then I hit enter, and then I choose the start again, and that uploads the audio, and then spits out several different files, an MP3, HTML, a JSON. I just learned I can feed ChatGPT JSON content directly, so I'm going to play with that a little bit. But then I download the MP3 file, and then I download the currently HTML file. I open the HTML file, and I'll look at the show notes that it gave me and say, yeah, I like those, or I'm not too fond of those. If I'm not fond of them, I will export the transcript data from that HTML file, because it's an Alphonic web player. So I export the transcript to a TXT file, and then I take that TXT file and I drop it into generic GPT, not the TW GPT, because I always forget that I have that. So I drop it into the generic GPT and say, hey, help me create an episode show notes for this week's Technically Working. Often it'll give me a pretty decent one the first time or two. If I know we mentioned a couple of links, I'll ask it to include those links based on the transcript as well. But then I'll ask it give me a title. So it gives me a title, and then I jump over to Pinecast. I copy the show notes, which are already in Markdown, into Pinecast, which takes Markdown. I give it a show title, and then I upload the file, and then I hit publish, and most of the time you get it on time. So that's our workflow. I don't even remember why I brought up the workflow, but that just filled several minutes.
So is it a drop-down or a combo box now in Alphonic?
It's a combo box. Well, it's a drop-down. Windows sees it as a combo box. VoiceOver sees it as a drop-down.
Okay. So I was like, geez, I really haven't been in Alphonic in a while. They changed it to a drop-down.
A menu pop-up is what it calls it.
Yeah, there it is. Menu pop-up button. Yeah. So it's famous, long-running. Like, I don't really listen to the shows after we record them, unless for some random reason I happen to be the one editing, which hasn't happened in probably a couple of years now that I edited the show.
Yeah, I don't know if you've edited TW, have you?
I don't think I've edited TW at all. We used to, with the other show, kind of switch on and off, and I would edit this and then you would edit that one, and then sometimes one of us would reach out like, hey, I ain't got time because this is going on, can you edit? Yeah, I don't think I've edited any episodes of TW.
And it's weird because the other show, it's funny, it's like the name that should not be said. The other show came out every Tuesday, very consistently. TW, every Monday, very consistently. It might be Monday evening, full transparency, but it still comes out on Monday.
Yep. And as has been the case, we are recording on Sunday. Wait, it is Sunday, right?
Yes,
I'm so
it is
confused. I
Sunday.
don't even know what day it is, man. Yeah, because I flew back in last
Yesterday.
night. Okay.
So Saturday, yep. And we probably should have just recorded last night because we had a pretty good conversation yesterday.
We actually did. But no, you had to put your studio back together.
Yeah, and that was kind of a mess.
So there's a lesson at the end of this, but I want Mike to go through and kind of talk about what he did and what the results were and all of that. And then we'll get into the other thing that we did talk about on the call when you were explaining this to me.
So I'm preparing to do AV for a wedding, not this. Oh, by the way, 2 weeks from today, because I expect that you'll remember this. 2 weeks from today, we cannot record on a Sunday. I mean, I guess maybe we can. It all depends on how the wedding goes. But all my stuff's going to be pulled apart. So part of that adventure has been to kind of jump in and start, now that I have this mixer, doing more hybrid events where I can and just kind of pushing myself in there. So I am, for the next 2 years, and we'll talk more about this experience because I want to get some audience feedback on it. Maybe not this week, but in the not too distant future, I want to talk, because I got some good feedback about what local advocacy chapters are doing to bring awareness about the fact that their chapter is there and how they're supporting their community. So if you have any ideas on that, please feel free to drop me an email or us an email, feedback@technicallyworking.show, because I am now the president again for another 2 years of our local chapter. And honestly, the last 2 years have kind of been a blur. There's been a lot that's happened, but I feel like I could have done so much more with our local chapter. So I want to build that out. One of those key things is being inclusive of all members. We have 2 members that I can think of that just cannot make it to a meeting. Transportation is not possible. And one of them, I don't know that she actually gets out of the assisted living place that she lives much at all. And so it's very difficult for her to get there. And then the other one lives about 30 minutes away, round trip. It's about an hour out of someone's day to bring her to a meeting. So of course, I'm embracing of technology because that's where technology is. And for the longest time, we used a built-in MacBook microphone or a built-in iPhone microphone. And I'm not going to edit this out. So if you have kids listening, know that there's going to be a 5 or 6 letter word because I can't spell in my head and talk at the same time. But the audio's been kind of shitty. And I wanted to change that quite a bit because I have the knowledge and we can make that happen. Also, what I discovered when we've been experimenting with that is improving the audio for people on Zoom often improves the audio for people in person. So those members who have hearing loss in person are able to easily hear us. So what we did a couple of times is before I got this mixer, I took the Vocaster and the Gemini microphones, and I brought these items to the restaurant that we're at, and we passed around the microphone. I plugged the and the Tribbett Stormbox Blast, available at atis.com. And I took those and I plugged in a dual 1/4 inch to the back of the Vocaster, and then an 1/8 inch to the back of the Blast. And then all of the audio from Zoom was going out of that Blast, and all of the audio from the microphone was coming out of that Blast. So that really worked fairly well. VoiceOver would come out of it. So what I would typically do is mute VoiceOver, and then I read my notes on the Orbit 40 in order to have that information. So that's what we did. And then I bought this mixer last month, I think it was, with anticipation of hosting a hybrid convention, and that went off pretty well. And I was editing the audio from that the other day, and I'm like, oh, I did that. That's pretty cool. So this is what we set up. So yesterday I tore everything down, and I put the Mackie, I forgot what type of mixer I had. I put the Mackie back in its box, and I transported it in its box with little styrofoam things. I grabbed the Blast. So I was carrying the Mackie and the Blast. I dropped the Vocaster, the Gemini, both microphones, and these lapel microphones that I got, wireless lapel microphones, into my backpack. And then, grabbed everything, took a local cab company because Uber wasn't available at that time, to our chapter meeting. I pulled everything out, got the mixer hooked up, ran the microphones into the mixer with all the cables, got the Vocaster on, ran the audio from the mixer into the Vocaster. And then realized I didn't have a way to get the audio from the Vocaster to the computer because I didn't have a USB-C to C cable. So that was kind of problematic. But what I ended up doing, though, is we actually used the phone. So I was not happy about that. But at least when this happened a couple of times ago, I forgot a cable. We just didn't do Zoom. And I definitely heard about that. And I feel like that wasn't a fair opportunity for those who couldn't go. At least when we join on Zoom, even if it's with the phone audio, they get something. And I did my best at repeating what was being said in the restaurants, so those on Zoom were up to date with what was going on. So we did that yesterday, but the intention was that I would be able to use the lapel microphone because holding a Gemini microphone is difficult while using a Braille display at the same time. So I was going to use the lapel microphone and wirelessly transmit to the mixer, and then that would go over the Zoom, and that would also go to the Tribbett Stormbox Blast, and it would be a good opportunity for me to test out my setup because we're going to clip one of the lapel microphones to the person who is officiating the wedding, and then we're going to clip the other lapel microphone probably to the groom. That way, because the bride's going to be in between the person officiating the wedding and the groom, so we should be able to get both of the people captured on, or all 3 of the people captured on audio with both of those microphones. And then I'm going to use camo. So I got to get camo and get that connected so we can use the iPhone as a camera standing on a tripod. So that's where I was going with that long spiel and why my studio was pulled apart yesterday.
I just had a picture of the bride being in between the two, and we're kind of like leaning forward so she can make sure like she's talking into the guy's chest, like, yes, I do.
See, and I need to grab someone and have them stand like 3 feet away from me just to make sure that the microphones work. Because I don't even know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. I think it will. I think if I ride the faders on the mixer, we can bring her audio up if she's a little quiet. And then we're gonna test it with the rehearsal the night before too. But that's what we're doing right now. If there's any blind people out there that are Patrick's but for video, please reach out to me. And if you know, you know. If you don't, I'm looking for someone who is really into the video world and playing around with video as a blind or low vision user.
So let's unpack that video thing there a little bit. Partially because it may help somebody identify whether they need to reach out or not. Because you may get a lot of responses because you're Michael Babcock on the internet, man, or you're Payon. Everybody knows you. But we don't need like a $10,000 rig going on right here. I don't think we're there yet.
No.
What are you trying to capture in video specifically, and what do you have on hand that you can use now that's already available?
So I have a Logitech C935 camera, which may be a solution for us. And then I have the iPhone and the Samsung S23 Plus are my camera options right now. What I'm trying to capture is kind of why I want someone to reach out to me, although I'm going to talk with a couple of other people, Mallory specifically. We're going to go look at the venue this week. She doesn't know that yet. So we'll find out if she's listening to the show. Oh, I know she doesn't. But I'm not sure.
You're going to hell about these shoes.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, so I'm not sure. Should we have the camera in the back of the room capturing people all the way from the back, or should we have the camera in the front of the room? And I think it's going to be the front of the room, looking down the aisle as the bride comes up, and then that would be a behind the. Well, I don't know. We got to figure out placement of the camera, something that I think is a big thing, and then different tools that people are using to monitor those cameras. I think with AI, there probably isn't something right now, but there's some potential for some real time feedback on your video content.
That's something I'm looking forward to for sure. So let me see. So here's the thing. We'll have to investigate because I'm not sure. I know you can switch cameras in camo, but I'm not sure if it's set up for switching. If the difference there makes. Yeah. Okay. So that's a potential solution. Possibly take a look at. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now because all I can think of is camo, and that's not the right software.
Ecamm.
There you go. Ecamm. And maybe set up a couple of phones. Maybe need to get a few little stands like the Google one, like the Google stand that we got. And set up your phone and the S23 in a couple of different spots. You can do wireless with camo. I'm not sure if that works with
Ecamm
or not.
I'm not sure either. I knew you could do Wi-Fi with camo, and I don't know the internet setup at the venue right now. So here's my hack together plan, because you're always going to have a couple of plans. So I'll tell you one of them. I won't tell you all of my plans. But my hack together way is put the Mac and the iPhone on the Samsung's hotspot. So then they're both on the same Wi-Fi network, and then they should see each other, right?
Yeah.
So that was my thought. If they don't have internet out there,
that could absolutely work. And then that will let you put camo on, or put your phone into camo wirelessly, and at least get that one shot you want, which is probably the bride coming down the aisle. That seems like it would be a good shot. There's also the possibility of moving. I mean, I don't know how to look. I haven't actually been to like a real wedding, so I don't know how that goes.
Quite a while.
Just slide over there and like move the camera to a different position later on, or not. Like that's a faux pas. Like you really shouldn't do that thing.
The other thought that I had, and this is the audience perspective. So if you put the camera in the audience somewhere and it's not at either end, then it should, I presume, capture using the wide angle lens a lot of the bride walking down the aisle, and then from the audience perspective, be able to give a viewpoint. Because ultimately what we want to do is stream the video through Zoom, because that's the big deal, so people can see/hear who may not be able to make it to the wedding. So I was also thinking the audience perspective wouldn't be a bad place either.
So you're streaming into Zoom.
Yep.
Let's see, Zoom camera switching. Let's see what comes up.
Because we could have multiple people in the Zoom from different angles doing video too. That could be a possibility.
That is. So hold on. Let's see. Now we're getting somewhere. I think. Why not join Zoom from your iPhone and join Zoom from
the Samsung?
From the Samsung, and you can position them in different places. And I wonder how you could go about. I know there's a way to maybe focus on a specific video. No, that is not what I'm looking for. This is telling me the basics. How do I switch my camera device? I'm trying to, video switching in Zoom. Or again, maybe Ecamm. We'll take a look at Ecamm, because this is not next weekend, but the weekend after that?
Yep.
Okay.
So see, we're actually planning, and that's unusual for us. Those long-term listeners know that we will definitely come back and share the following weekend, which will be Thanksgiving weekend, what ends up happening. Or we'll have a pre-recorded interview there, one or the other.
That would be me. Mike just had his thing, but here's an interview we did a week ago. So,
maybe we'll target getting the interview done, so I don't have to edit during the wedding or after the wedding, and then we'll come out that following weekend and let you know what we ended up doing. Yeah,
that's actually the plan. So you don't even have to worry about a show that weekend of the wedding, because it's going to be crazy. You're going to discover things that you didn't think about.
It's like you've done a live event before.
There's always something you don't remember, including the cable. So make sure you buy extra cables.
Oh yeah, I solved that problem by walking in yesterday and throwing a freaking USB-C cable in the bottom of my bag. So yeah, that's where I wanted to get to with that.
Now here's a cable you're going to forget now though. So throw an extra lightning cable in the bottom of your bag because you're planning on using your phone and you're probably going to want to charge that up at some point.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at Ecamm. We may follow up if anybody reaches out. You can send an email to feedback@technicallyworking.show, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon and share any input that you may have. Now, there's a cool device. However, I don't think this is what you want for this situation. But I'm probably going to buy one of these at some point because I'm going to start doing some more video content. Actually, I almost bought a drone. Well, I didn't really buy a drone or think about buying a drone. I thought about buying it. I didn't almost buy it. Like, I never went to the page to buy it, but I was interested in this little drone that apparently will follow you around, and it's like $200. You heard about this thing?
I have heard about this. I don't remember the name of it, but we bought Ben a drone for his birthday, and he's used it once. But maybe he could get some overhead video, and we could stream that.
See, there you go. Well, is this an indoor or outdoor venue?
It's indoor.
Well, I don't know if you can fly the drone inside.
I mean, I would fly a drone inside. It might not be appropriate for a wedding.
Sure, you would do it, but you also wouldn't see that chandeliers hanging down 3 feet from the ceiling.
Yeah. Maybe I should just leave it to the professionals.
So since the primary purpose though is to try to stream that video into Zoom as it's happening, you're not trying to capture it for later. Maybe joining Zoom from a device and setting it up. I mean, like I said, you're going to take a look at the venue, so that'll help you kind of decide where you may be able to position things at. Whether or not it will just be one device or two. We'll research software switching options because I don't think you want to go buy a hardware switcher.
Not really.
At this point,
too much
I absolutely recommend one to you, but
months.
but it will get super expensive because I think it's $300, and then you're going to need a lightning to HDMI cable or something. So Ecamm could be a solution because I think Ecamm can feed its video back into Zoom, possibly. And honestly, one thing that I would do just to shortcut us doing a whole lot of unnecessary work or not finding the answers, just drop an email to Ecamm, drop an email to Camo's support, and ask, like, kind of explain like what you're trying to do. Like I said, I know with Camo you can change your device, but I don't think there's a native way to just switch the video, like where it's seamless switching, like it's kind of a smooth transition. Like there would probably be a noticeable, you change your camera from the iPhone to the Samsung, like, but there would be a dropout in video signal and then it would come back is what I think might happen. But I also have not really tried connecting multiple cameras to Zoom, to Camo at the same time either.
And OBS may be a solution too, but
OBS is an option.
And also maybe the solution is I say, hey Ben, I need someone with some eyes who can make some cameras look good. You want to come and do this for me? So we will follow up and let you know for sure what we end up doing.
Yeah, man, sounds interesting. And you're doing the thing.
Yep. I want to do some more corporate events. That's my goal in 2025 is to get some corporate gigs. And I have some leads on that. So we'll see where that turns into. Oh, do you want to talk about, did you add anything to the show notes? Because I know we talked about adding stuff to the show notes. This podcast has a lot of hiss in my headphones and it drives me crazy. I gotta figure that out. But I have all of my stuff set up. So hold on, I'm going to try something I shouldn't do, but I'm going to try something real quick. Did you hear a couple of clicks? I turned off phantom power thinking that would fix the issue, but it does not, so.
Yeah, that hiss is,
do you hear the hiss?
I don't hear it, but I'm familiar with the hiss. Oh, son of a bitch, it's going to make me start over. Okay.
What happened?
I was setting up two-factor for Patriot software. Hold on, let me see if I can add that right quick. You asked me if we want to talk about what?
I asked you if you had anything in the Google Doc.
There are maybe a couple of things in the Google Doc.
Do I want to buy, I don't really have it right now, but do I want to buy a original HomePod for $100? I don't know if it's still being, I'll have to search and see if it's still being supported.
Okay, I definitely will finish doing that.
What's that?
Oh, you're saying Patriot software.
What does that sound familiar?
It's a payroll software.
Okay. What do you think of it?
I haven't gotten it set up yet. I'm not even in there yet.
Okay. Well, if you ever decide to try Gusto, reach out to me and I'll give you a referral link.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. I think Gusto's going to be more expensive than Patriot, though. But we'll see how Patriot goes. Supposedly it offers all of the same features. So hold on, let's back up. So Patriot does offer some of the same features. As far as I can tell, very similar features to what Gusto does. And I'm looking at setting up payroll software because I have to put people on payroll. Because in all of my investigations and conversations with professional people in the financial industry, so that being bookkeepers, accountants, etc., it's better to put people on payroll. So you're taking their taxes out and their Social Security or FICA, all of that crap out of their check when you pay them, and you're paying those taxes as you should. Because if you don't, when they do eventually catch up with you, here's the way it was put to me that I thought was a very nice way of putting it. You can pay people under the table and all of that stuff. You can do a lot of things in business that are semi-legal at best, and it's all great until it's not. So I could roll along just paying people under the table and not have any problems, or making people pay, or not making, but allowing people to register with me as like they're W-9ing them instead of W-4ing them, which W-9 would be their contractor, so they're responsible for paying their taxes and all associated things. And I have hands off completely. I just send them a payment or pay them however they choose to be paid. every week. And after that, I'm hands off. Whatever they did, they did. And if they didn't do it, they didn't do it. But nothing falls back on me except that. And shout out to Uber for making this even more difficult. But there are very specific rules you have to follow for a person to be a contractor. And in my specific case, I'm choosing to go the payroll route. Partially because I have an LLC set up. I set up an LLC for the vending business. It's Spirals LLC. When I came out, I think it might have been the same week I graduated. No, it was the following week after I graduated that I set up this business as an LLC. So specifically in that instance, I don't want to run afoul of the IRS. And my fear, I'm not afraid of too many things, but I'm very wary of the IRS because once you run afoul of them, like they can go back and they're going to get their money. Like if you owe them money or they say you owe them money, they're going to get their money. There's no way you're going to avoid getting their money. I do not have enough money to fall into that very small group, that 1% of people that can owe the IRS millions of dollars and never have to pay it and also never go to jail. I'm not one of those people. So as was put to me, things go great until they don't. So hiring somebody as a contractor, in my instance, for example, could lead to, let's say they have an accident while on the job working for people. There's some specifics you have to follow anyway. So as a contractor, technically I can't dictate to you when you work.
Yep.
So, me as a consultant, when somebody hires me to do work for them, they don't tell me, oh, you have to work. I want you working on my project from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock every day. Right. They can't dictate that to me. And my contracts also preclude them from dictating those sort of terms to me because I'm not your employee. I'm a contractor. They can set a fixed deadline, which to me seems reasonable, for when they want the work done, but they can't dictate whether I do it at 24 hours before they want it done or I do it the same day and then I'm done and I just sit on it for 2 weeks. Like they don't really have any control over that. Once you start dictating the hours that a person has to work and dictating to them how they need to do the job that you're having them do, they're starting to slide into that employee category. And to be fair, I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just going off my understanding of how this works and trying to ensure that I am following the rules to the best of my ability. So looking at payroll software, we use Gusto. Me and Mike are familiar with using Gusto as employees. Looking at costs and features, etc. I am willing to take a stab at Patriot first because it is going to come in a little bit cheaper for me. And, look, enough money flies out of my bank account weekly that it comes back in a lot of times. It comes back in most of the time too. Like I'm not just throwing money away and it doesn't come back, but yeah, anybody that is familiar with running a inventory-based business where you're selling physical products, you know the feeling like, oh, I just tied up $3,000 right real quick. And I'm not going to get it back until all this stuff sells. So
yep. So we need to get out there and start selling this stuff.
Right. And then there's other, things are more expensive in business. Like now, you would not believe how much I paid for business checks, like through the bank. Like I maybe could have gotten them cheaper and I didn't do a whole lot of looking around because I was in the bank and I just set up a business account. Like, hey, I need some checks. Because I do occasionally have to. There are certain of my vendors that will only take a check or cash. They don't take a card. There's no online payment system. It's check or cash. I'm
not surprised. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised.
I'm very disappointed. I was a little surprised, actually. In this day and age, like, geez, what do you have to do? I mean, I literally, and I didn't tell you, we'll chat about this later, but I literally just did an event for AT guys in Dallas, and I did the whole weekend with just my iPhone. I didn't even have a card reader.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I only had one occasion where the tap to pay didn't come up, and I didn't catch that it didn't process right. And the only other time I had to manually put in a card is because the person was reading their card number. I believe they were using the Cash App card, and they didn't have their physical card with them. And they also did not have it in Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever phone they were using. So that person read their card number to me. Everybody else, I was able to tap their card and accept their payment and send them a receipt and move on with my day.
Yeah, when I did the event, I did have a card reader, but I didn't use my computer. I just had the phone and a keyboard.
Yeah, that's all I had was my phone and a keyboard. I couldn't find my card reader. So I was somebody moved the box. Like literally, I went to go get it. I was like, what the hell is it? Oh no. I said, all right, well, I've done it. I did it in Orlando and only used my phone. And fortunately at this event where everybody that had a card, their card does have the chip so they can do tap to pay. So there's no problems. So I'm a little surprised. But man, I paid over $200 for, I don't know, like 300 or 500 checks. I don't even know how many it is now.
Holy cow.
Like absolutely ridiculous. Things cost more when you're a business and you go to pay for things. So be aware of that. Like business, auto insurance is a little bit more, commercial auto insurance is a little bit more expensive. A commercial tag, which it is time for me to renew already, even though I just did it because I paid for part of the year that was left because, hey, we got to renew ours every November. So I should probably go do that before the month is up. But it's $300 a year for a commercial tag on my vehicle. It's freaking insane.
Yes.
So anyway, but all this money that goes out the door and money that gets spent, I want to try to stay as legitimate. I want to be as legitimate as I know how to be, following the directions and the expectations of, IRS, state taxes, all of that stuff. So looking at Patriot, I'll follow up. We'll talk about it later on down the line as to how it actually works. Should allow my employees to be able to clock in and clock out and set up their own direct deposit, etc., which will be nice. And for anybody listening that may be screaming silently in their head or screaming at their phone, I have been paying people and I have been taking taxes out of their stuff. I've just been doing payroll by hand for a couple of months, which ain't fun.
Yeah. Find a tool to help automate it. Because I don't know if we should talk about it in this time or if you want to wrap it up now, but we do need to talk about the lack of tech in your business.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. I need to gather my thoughts on that. I did say that yesterday, and it's today, and I ain't thought about it. So I need to have some coherent thoughts on it. I do have many thoughts on it, but so as not to ramble for another hour about it, I should make some coherent notes about what I mean by that. But the short of it, or just a teaser of it, is Mike led me into this a little bit last week. I think it was last week, or it was the prior show. So 83 or 82, Michael asked me, when do you automate stuff and when do you not? And, you know, as I said then, for me, that line is often, first off, I need to understand the system that I'm trying to automate and how it's supposed to work before I go trying to have things happen automatically. So when it doesn't work, I know what I need to fix, or I set it up the right way the first time. But as a teaser, like, I really have not deployed as much technology in solving problems in my business as I feel like I should have. It doesn't mean that I should have done it. It's just I don't feel like, me being me, I don't feel like I'm using enough tech. But we'll break that down a little bit more in next week's episode.
Sounds good. Well, on that note, do you want to wrap it up then?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm guessing you also did not go look at the Google Doc.
Nope, sure didn't. Sure didn't.
So we'd like to thank everybody for listening. You know, if you are a Tip Jar subscriber, extra special thanks to you, because again, you can spend your money anywhere. You're giving some of it to us. So we thank you very much for your support. We thank you for listening in general. We appreciate you sharing our content on whatever social media platform you choose to use. I'm not going to judge you at all, whether it's Facebook, YouTube,
X.
We're not on Twitch. X, yeah, I was trying to think of another one. Instagram, wherever you choose to share it. I won't see it in any of those places, but we still appreciate you sharing it. You can send feedback to us at feedback@technicallyworking.show, and both of us should see those emails. We do actually have an email I need to discuss with Mike as soon as we get off the air, because I bet he hasn't seen it. You can follow us on Mastodon. He is Payon, Payown, at dragonscave.space. That's DRAGONSCAVE.space. Space. I said I was going to make like a little echo thing for that. I'm going to go download Reaper and try to set that up. So we
you
like
get a Mackie and then just, you know, figure out what it is that you want to say. And as I'm hitting the button right here, you could say things like dragonscave.space.
There you go. See, I was going to do a thing like that. No, Mike just did it live on his fancy mixer. I am not. I know people are wondering, I'm not buying any audio equipment anytime soon. He says just as he goes to buy something that Mike shows him in 2.5 weeks, he's like, man, this thing is really cool, and I'm going to get one at some point, and I'll tell Mike next week, hey, I got that thing that
No, that never happens. Never, not at all.
No, that never happens at all. You can follow me on Mastodon. I am Damasi, DAMASHE, at unmute.community. Or you can interact with us on Mastodon using the hashtag technically working. Please capitalize the T and the W. Thank you very much. And I'll be curious if anybody's on Threads, if you're able to interact with us now from Threads. I'm not sure where they are in that integration with the metaverse. I know they're working, not the metaverse. Jeez.
The Fediverse?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
I know they're working on it. I know it is, you know, in process, and it continues to be worked on, but I'm not sure if everybody has access to do that or not. So if you're on Threads and you want to ping us on Mastodon, yeah, give it a try. And if you say specifically in the message that, hey, I'm on Threads sending this to you, I will make it a special point to respond to you with some sort of emoji. Oh, I got access to the what is this thing? The image
Image playgrounds?
Yeah, but I can't figure out. I guess I should go read somebody's article or something, figure out how you do the Genmoji, because I'm not really.
You can't do Genmoji yet, I don't think.
I thought you could do it at 18.
Maybe you can. Oh, maybe you can. Maybe it's general public can't do Genmoji, but beta 18.2 can. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you know, send us an email.
It took about 2 weeks for me to get access to image playgrounds. I just recently actually saw it while I was in Dallas, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to try to send an emoji to Mike. And then I opened up the emoji thing in on the keyboard, and I was like, I don't really see a way to generate an emoji. So, yeah, I guess I'll have to do some research on that. But we thank everybody for listening. We appreciate you. This has been TW84, and we will continue technically working.